In this section, we're going to talk about establishing rules. I like to think of this as the thinking delay crusher. And we're going to talk about setting proper expectations at the appointment. I want you to think back about every single time you've been upset in a situation, whether it was service, a vendor, a relationship, whatever. Is it possible that when you're upset is because what you expected and what you got were two totally different things? And when we think about unmet expectations breeds frustration. At the beginning of every appointment, we want to go over what the homeowner's agenda is, and then what our agenda is, and then ultimately a clear outcome. What a yes means, what a no means. And so I want you to think about when you go over to a homeowner's house and you figure out what it is they're trying to do, what is their agenda typically? How about you walk through my house, take some photos, give me a number, and if I like your number, I'll give you a call back. Is that the typical homeowner's agenda? What about our agenda? Is it not our intention every single time when we meet a homeowner to get a signed contract? How far apart are we in expectations right now? Now, my next question for you is, how many houses does a homeowner sell per month? Not a lot. How many houses are we trying to buy a month? Quite a bit. Who's the professional here? So what we want to do is tell them what a normal appointment is, what the typical homeowner's expectations are. And then the same thing, we'll tell them what our expectations are, which isn't any different. And then again, a clear outcome. If it's a yes, we put everything in writing. If it's a no, we part ways, no big deal. And the reason why I say this is that we've gone through and trained a lot of people, and they'll say what a yes means, and in their minds, a yes is we'll move forward, and moving forward is totally ambiguous. For a homeowner, move forward can still mean I still get to meet those other home buyers. So for us, a clear outcome. Yes, we're putting everything in writing. No, we part ways. And in our framework, the first thing we do is we thank them for their time. We want to remind them they invited us into their home. We didn't just show up randomly. There was an actual need for us. After that, we're going to ask them, can I share with you how these meetings normally go? We want to soften it, because if we go straight into setting the rules, they're going to be kind of like, what is going on here? So we want to just ask them, can I share with you how these meetings normally go? That's our soft approach before we go into closing the appointment in the first 5 to 15 minutes. We're going to tell them that these meetings go about an hour, hour and a half. Is that still a good amount of time? And the reason why we do that is actually for two reasons. For some of these homeowners, they're trying to get you out in 15 minutes. And if they only set aside 15 minutes for you, you're not buying a house. It's time to leave. Additionally, there's a lot of gravity. When you're selling your home to a cash buyer, it's a very serious situation. We want to remind them the gravity of the situation here. And then we'll tell them, here are the 3 questions people normally want to ask us. How does this process work? How much money am I going to get from this sale? How soon will I get that money? Pause. Am I missing anything? And the reason why we do this is because those are the 3 most common questions we get, but we pause because we want to see if there's any other questions they got, and then we'll ask them again, am I missing anything? And if they tell you anything here at all, write that down, because it's obviously critical to them. And then we'll share with them, obviously, for me to figure out if this is a house that I'm going to buy, I'm going to ask you some questions. Some of these questions might come across as personal. And we're doing this for 2 reasons. First, we want to position ourselves that we might not actually buy your house. Now, these homeowners have been getting calls, voicemails, text messages, marketing pieces about people wanting to buy their house. They think everyone wants to buy their house. And we're telling them here, for the very first time, we might not buy your house. We're positioning ourselves here. After that, we're asking for permission to ask personal questions. Why? Have you ever asked a homeowner, how much do you owe? Why are you behind your mortgage? What's your interest rate? Who else knows about this? And they look at you kind of funny and they say, well, that's kind of a personal question. Why do you need to know that? If you ask permission for personal questions early on, they will honor that permission later on in the appointment. I'll give you an example here. My partner, Max, he actually was talking to a homeowner. He set the proper rules. In the middle of the appointment, I overheard her say, you're asking a lot of questions. And she was clearly frustrated. And Max says to her, oh, I apologize. You know, in the very beginning, I thought I was going to ask you if I can ask you some questions. And you said I was okay. And she said, oh, that's right, you did. Go ahead, keep asking your questions. And she was okay with it. So if you get permission in the very beginning, they will be okay with it throughout the appointment. And then we'll share at the end, naturally, one of 2 things will happen. Either we buy your house or we don't. Either way is okay. If the price we offer doesn't work for you, Or you're not quite convinced I'm your guy, would you feel comfortable telling me no? What have we done here? We've empowered them to say no. And so when we push away throughout the rest of the appointment, by empowering them to say no, they feel comfortable telling us no. So that it's easier to get a clear outcome. Then we'll say, and if I'm not going to be buying your house, will you be okay if I tell you that? Again, for emphasis, we're just positioning ourselves to say that we might not buy your house. And if it does make sense for us to work together, what that means is we'll take everything we talked about and put it in writing. Is that fair? And what we've done here is that we're telling them, if it's a yes, we're signing everything right now, today. Then after that, we'll pause. Can you share with me what you heard? And we want them to repeat back to us everything that we've just agreed upon. And the reason why this is important is you might get a counterfeit yes. You might get someone's like, yeah, I'm okay with that. And what you want to do is you want them to be committed to establishing the rules. And after that, we tell them they're not allowed to think about it. The way it sounds is, can I share with you my biggest fear? You seem really nice. Some of the homeowners we talked to in the past, they were afraid to hurt our feelings. And instead of telling us no, they told us they needed to think about it. Can you promise me that you won't do that? I promise you, you cannot hurt my feelings. And if I hear anything besides a yes or a no, I'm just going to take that as a no. Is that fair? And what have we done here? They're not allowed to think about it. So later on, if they tell us they need to think about it, we can refer back to, hey, remember at the very beginning, you said you weren't going to tell us you need to think about it? You can just tell me no, right? And that's our framework for establishing the rules. Let me share with you how we say it so you can hear the tonality behind all of this. Thank you for inviting me into your home. Can I share with you how these appointments normally go? These meetings generally go about an hour, hour and a half. Is that still a good amount of time for you? Typically, homeowners that we meet with want to know, how does this process work? How much money will I get from this? When will I get my money? Am I missing anything? Obviously, for me to figure out if this is one of the houses that we're going to buy, I'm going to have to ask you some questions. Some may even be personal. Will that be okay? Naturally, at the end of our time together, one of two things will happen. Either we work together or we won't. Either way is okay. If the price we offer you doesn't work for you, or if you don't believe that we're a good fit, would you feel comfortable telling me no? Likewise, if this isn't one of the houses that we're going to buy, will you be okay if I tell you that? And if it does make sense for us to work together, then we'll go ahead and put everything we talked about in writing. Is that fair? Can I share with you my biggest fear? You seem really nice. Some of the homeowners we've talked to in the past were really afraid to hurt our feelings and felt better telling us that they needed to think about it. Can you promise me that you won't do that? I promise you can't hurt my feelings. And if you say anything besides a yes or a no, I'm just going to take that as a no. Is that fair? And that's it. That's how we share our biggest fear and get them to stop telling us they need to think about it. We do modify how we establish the rules based off of DISC profiles. If you're not familiar with DISC, D, I, S, and C, wait for it. It'll be at the very end of our course. Now for a D, a high driver, we don't ask for an hour, hour and a half. If you do ask for an hour and a half, you're going to lose rapport in the very beginning. So we'll just tell them, hey, it's going to be 30, 45 minutes. Additionally, if you're dealing with an I, someone that loves people and loves chatting, we're just going to add some more small talk. It's just part of the process. If you're dealing with an S, someone that says, I don't want to make a decision in one sitting, what we want to do is we want to ask them, could you ask me enough questions so that you would feel comfortable knowing you're working with the right person? And we take that challenge and we put it back in their court, right? Don't make your problem my problem. If you're dealing with an analytical, a C profile, we actually will allow them to think about it if they can convince us that they truly are an analytical person. So we'll just ask them, how long do you think you're going to need? 24 hours? 48 hours? Perfect. And when I call you back at that time, you will have figured out whether it's a yes or a no. Perfect. So when I call you back and it's a no, what happens next? When I call you back as a yes, what happens next? Perfect. And so what we're doing is we're just taking the future and bringing it to the present, allowing them to make the decision. Yeah, they can wait, but when we call them back later on, we're going to continue right where we left off. Another element that's crucial to our sales process is positioning and scarcity. One rule we have is you got to go for no. Sometimes you got to end the meeting to start the meeting. What happens is when you first meet the homeowner, their guard is really high. And in order to get their guard down, you want to empower them to say no. You want to get to a point where you ask them, is the meeting over? And once the meeting's over, you ask them, shall I leave? And they say, yeah, it's over. You should go. And you say, perfect. Now that it's over, What are you going to do? And now they'll start talking. And at this point, their guard is completely down and you can restart the sales process and nobody realizes what happened. As for scarcity, what you want to do is someone tells you, I need to think about it. You say, well, you can think about it, but here's my problem. If you call me back in a couple of days, I only have enough money to buy 2 more houses between now and the end of the week. You call me back in a couple of days, I might be out of money. So it's not that you can't think about it. It's just when you call me back, I might be out of money. And the last part for positioning is we came over to buy a house today. So we are professional home buyers, right? So you have a homeowner that says, well, what's my house worth? They're trying to figure out what it's worth and so on. You just stop them right there. You know, it sounds like you're trying to find out what your house is worth. I came here to buy a home. Sounds like even if I made an offer, you wouldn't be prepared to sign it. Let's do this. I've got a couple of appraiser buddies. I can have them reach out to you. Or I got some realtor buddies that love doing a market analysis. How about I have them give you a call? Or the homeowner might ask you, you know, what's it going to cost to replace the windows, the roof, carpet and paint? And you got to stop them right there. It sounds like you're trying to get some bids. I got some contractor buddies. I can have them give you a call, right? But I came here to buy a house today, and it sounds again like you're not ready to sell. Or you have some other people say, well, why don't you make me an offer, right? They're just collecting offers. And we tell them the same thing here. I'm not in the offer making business. I'm in the house buying business. Sounds like you're not ready to sell. Maybe I should leave. And that's how we position ourselves for maximum leverage.